Hello everyone, this is Razorblade Mango, and today I want to talk about the first 2014 film I've seen this year is Justice League War. Before I start into that, I want to talk about two things very quickly that are not related to this movie, just gaming in general. First of all, I started playing Portal 2 again, and I forgot how funny this game is. I mean, it's just one of my friends described it really well as the Doctor Strangelove of video games, where it's just this really dry, dark sense of humor, and it's just so absurd that it's hysterical, and just lots of quotes, lots of like really funny self-deprecation. It's just a great game, and it's challenging and it's fun. God, I forgot how much this game kicks ass. And second thing, I finally played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons because it's free right now on PlayStation Plus, and that game blew me the fuck away. I really didn't know what I was expecting, installing it and booting it up. Holy crap! This is one of those games that comes out every so often that really makes a statement about how seriously people should take video games as an art form. I know there's a lot of people out there, surprisingly a lot of people out there, who still say that video games are not art and do not hold a candle to books and movies and paintings and shit like that. This is one of those games that does, where with a very striking art style, and really it's a lot like the Team Ico stuff, like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, where it's just this world that is filled with so much mystery and intrigue, and but it captures all these universal themes and this poignancy that is present in a lot of these big AAA budget games like The Last of Us and Bioshock Infinite. And really my best comparison to Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is that this in movie terms, it's the only way I can do this. Brothers: Tale of Two Sons is this brilliant independent film compared to the usual soulless Hollywood blockbuster machine that regularly cranks out product after product after product after product with the sole intent of making money. And for the video game equivalency, you guys can probably guess what I'm talking about. So anyway, go check out Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. If you have PlayStation 3, if you have PlayStation Plus, please go and download this right now. This is a fantastic game. I'm not going to say it's one of the best games I've ever played, but it is truly a very unique and beautiful experience. I highly recommend people go out and check this out. Now on to Justice League War. Weirdly enough, I started 2013 by watching another DC animated film, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. And I loved it. It's still in my top 5 of the year, which, by the way, I'm going to be releasing those videos pretty soon. Once I still have a couple more films to see before I get around to that. But Justice League War, once again, 2014... Here we are, and I'm starting the year off with another DC animated movie. And for you guys who don't know what this film, DC and Warner Brothers have teamed up, and besides their live action stuff, back in 2006, I believe, they started making these direct-to-DVD animated DC films, a lot like the Batman animated series, Superman animated series, Justice League, in that similar vein. And so far they've had a very successful run. I mean, these movies definitely are, like, most of them are pretty well received. There's been a couple of clunkers here and there in my opinion, but most of them, to me, and I'm going to just boldly say, some of these movies are way better than almost everything DC and Warner Brothers has released as far as live action superhero movies go. Besides, The Dark Knight. I genuinely think if The Dark Knight Returns had been made as this Not this part 1, part 2 crap, but they combined it together and made it live action and maybe amped the budget up a little bit. It could have been the greatest Batman film of all time. I strongly believe that. Even if they had gotten Peter Weller back in, like, to literally physically be Bruce Wayne, that would have been incredible. That would be like the Batman movie people have been waiting for since The Dark Knight. In Justice League War, this is the first one based on the New 52 series, where it was pretty much a reboot where all the origin stories most of them have been changed, and you've got like a new origin story for the Justice League, and this movie is about that, where it's about how Darkseid comes to Gotham City, comes to the world, and the like Green Lantern and the Flash and Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Shazam, they have to all team up to take on Darkseid and prevent world being destroyed, pretty much. And so how is this movie? It is fucking awesome. This is easily among my favorites of the DC original animated movies released so far. And what I think these movies capture about the DC universe much more than the live action stuff has recently is that you do not need a superhero movie does not need to be dark and gritty and emo and serious to be awesome. It doesn't need to be just all like brooding to be like this really great tale. You can have a movie like with a lot of humor and a lot of personality and still have it be this really epic story like Justice League War is. Because one of my many problems with Man of Steel, and I think the future of what DC is going for, or Warner Brothers is going for, is that they're just going to be this dry, humorless, way too focused on the drama kind of thing, when really a sense of humor is what these movies need, is what they should do. And I really like how this movie is not afraid, even in its darkest moments, to include some really, really funny stuff. Just so I don't spoil anything, let me think of an example. Oh, easily. There's a scene when we're first introduced to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is like a political, is like pretty much a representative of the Amazonians, where she comes to Earth and she wants to meet the president, but she kind of walks away from meeting the president because he's taking too long, according to her. And there's a riot going on outside, a protest going on outside the White House that are like, look, get Wonder Woman out of here, take her out of here, get her off this planet. And so she's kind of feeling, not really intimidated, but she's kind of feeling like she's not really appreciated, she's not very welcome here. And this little girl walks up to her and is like, I think you're cool, I want to be you when I grow up. And Wonder Woman just looks at her and it's kind of like, you're not afraid of me? And she's like, no, hell no. And the little girl's eating ice cream as well, and the little girl goes, you want to try some ice cream? And Wonder Woman takes the ice cream and tries a bite, and she just loves ice cream. And the first thing she does is she takes this little girl to this local ice cream vendor and is like, you, human, give me this wonderful invention you call ice cream. And the guy's like, okay, shit, I'll give you the ice cream. So it's these little tiny moments like these that really strike an emotional chord with these movies, is that it delves deep into the personalities of these characters, where you have to remember, although they are considered gods among men, and they are superheroes, they are still mortal, and they still have a lot of, baggage and humanity. Even though the Amazonians aren't technically like human, they still have thoughts and feelings and likes, dislikes, and shit like that. And I think this movie, a lot of these DC animated movies capture that in a way that the DC live action stuff can really only, dream of. besides most of what Nolan does. And another thing I really liked about this movie is the camaraderie, where when they finally make that live-action Justice League movie, the one thing they need to get right is the camaraderie between these characters, their personality, their clashes, their friendships. And they fucking nail that in this movie. They really get that right. And you really feel like this history between these characters, even though they've just met. From each individual character, you know their history, you know how they're going to interact, probably from the Justice League show if you watched it growing up like I did. But it's interesting to see them form new kinds of camaraderie in this movie. And, because Shazam initially wasn't in the original Justice League, and he's in this now instead of, Martian Manhunter or Aquaman. And he's really interesting. He's like another kind of goofy superhero, kind of like the Flash, who I'm not going to say the Flash is a pansy in any way. The Flash is a fucking badass, and so is Shazam. But, he is a lot like the comic relief. And he works really well. He's got a really interesting relationship with Cyborg in this movie. And Cyborg's whole story is very interesting. Personally with me, it hits a very strong, beat. And Green Lantern stuff is cool. Wonder Woman's is, oh my god. I've been saying for years, we need a Wonder Woman live-action movie. And having just rewatched the other animated Wonder Woman movie this series did, it's great. And I'm shocked DC has ignored her for so long, because she is a badass in this movie. Oh my god, she puts Batman and Superman in the corner, where those two have their badass moments, but then comes Wonder Woman, and she's like this strong female character that it's really so it's awesome. And I really love how Wonder Woman is in this movie, and she doesn't have she's not a dumbass. She's not a bimbo. She is a strong female hero, which is, I'm really happy that they're nailing this in these movies. And another thing I think this movie gets right, where I feel like the DC live action stuff, and I hate to keep picking on the DC live action stuff, but I'm sorry, that's the only reference I've got right now, is that how good these movies are, is that those movies, they are all about Batman now. Where, understandably so, I mean, fuck, he's got his own, billion-dollar franchise. He is a hit right now in the video game industry with, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and to some small degree, I guess, Arkham Origins, and he's got still going strong in the comic books. He's got some legendary graphic novels. And my problem with what's going to happen in the future of the live-action DC stuff is that they're going to completely ignore doing any more, solo Man of Steel stuff. Because it was supposed to be about Superman, Man of Steel 2. And then you got Ben fucking Affleck as Batman coming in, where they're going to make it like The Dark Knight Returns, which they already did with these animated movies. And Wonder Woman's going to be in there, and I guarantee you she's not going to have that big of a role. She's going to be kind of, pushed to the side to make room for Batman. So Batman, they're focusing way too much on Batman in the live action stuff. And although Batman is a main character in this movie, he doesn't steal the show. In fact, Wonder Woman does. But everyone has their own moments to shine and is given an equal amount of personality and character development. And it's really interesting to see the different sides of the Justice League. Because right now, we're so used to seeing Batman. It's interesting to see, Shazam and Cyborg. Like I said, Cyborg's story is fucking fascinating in this movie. Green Lantern. His kind of, he's got some confidence issues in this movie, which I won't spoil, but I did find them interesting. And part of what why I think this movie works so well is that it's the same director behind the Dark Knight Returns films and the Flashpoint Paradox movie that came out last year, which again was really fucking good. And this guy, Jay Oliva, who's the director, he knows how to stage action scenes extremely well, but also make them about character development and put the characters first before mindless action scenes. And he knows how to strike that balance really well. And speaking of which, the action in this movie is awesome. It's like so many great action scenes, so many little fuck yeah moments, and the entire battle against Darkseid at the end is, oh my god, is phenomenal. Where I was watching it on my computer because they released it on iTunes like a couple days ago, and I was watching them just be like trying their best to outfight and outwit Darkseid, and I was going, ooh, ah, yeah, fuck yeah, whenever something cool would happen. And it's that kind of interaction for myself to these kinds of movies that I love the most. That I want to get into these kinds of movies. I want to be rooting for the superhero. I want to be rooting for the bad guy to be taken down by the end. And that is what these animated movies give me for the most part. Even this one, Justice League War, gives that to me to a huge degree. And I really appreciate that even though there's a lot of carnage in this movie. Another thing I really like, there's a lot of carnage. There's a lot of on-screen death. It's very violent. These DC animated movies, I swear, if frame for frame remade as a live-action film, they would be rated R. Especially Flashpoint Paradox and The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. They are bloody. They are really, really grisly at points. And this is the first one, I think, where they use some pretty foul language in here for and I'm not saying these movies are for kids, which they're not. They're really like action-packed and violent. Like they use words like whore and douchebag and shit and bullshit in this movie. And son of a bitch. I mean, it was just like, damn. I wouldn't show like my 8-year-old this, but I like that too, because it is taking its audience seriously without sacrificing the fun. And it lets you know that, look, these movies are made for teenagers, and they're made for adults more. And it feels like when you're a kid and you're watching the Justice League show, you know, with Kevin Conroy and all those guys, that you go, God damn, now that the show is all over, I want to see something like this. And then when you grow up to be older, you want to see something like that with your adult mindset now. And these movies are a lot like that, especially the Justice League War. So it's just awesome. And then another thing that stands out about this movie is the voice cast, who they got to be people like Batman and Shazam and Wonder Woman. Batman, the guy who voices Batman in this movie his name is Jason O'Mara, and if you guys don't know who this guy is, I mean, I wouldn't blame you. If you saw, a couple years ago, there was this really shitty Katherine Heigl movie called One for the Money, and if you guys remember that in any way, you're lucky if you don't. He was the love interest in that, and he sucked. And thankfully he does much better as Batman, where he gets the gruffness right, he gets the kind of sly, dark, humorless quips in there, and he does a good job embodying Batman. He's no Kevin Conroy, but then again, or Bruce Greenwood even from Under the Red Hood, or Peter Weller from The Dark Knight Returns, is that this guy, he knows how to do Batman very well. And I was having my doubts in the very beginning, because I was kind of like, I don't really feel it from him all that much, but as the movie went on, I started to like him more, and I was like, okay, he's a good Batman. Michelle Monaghan as Wonder Woman, she is great. I've always liked this actress, Michelle Monaghan, and she does a great job with Wonder Woman. She is, again, she embodies in her voice like the fierceness and badassery of Wonder Woman. She's able to do like pull off some really funny moments, like the ice cream scene that I thought was really good. Sean Astin as Shazam, who, it's been a while since I've seen this guy in anything. Not that you see him in this, but he is really good as Shazam. Where, again, he is like the comic foil, but he's really, really funny, because they got some really, really funny material with them. And, like, the guy that voices Cyborg is excellent. The guy who voices Superman is pretty good. Alan Tudyk, pretty good. Stephen Bloom as Darkseid. They probably manipulated the voice a bit. Well, they have to, but still, awesome job there. And also, another thing, The Flash, who I liked him. I like Christopher Gorham as The Flash. Justin Kirk as Green Lantern is really good. And that's it. That's pretty much all I can say about this movie, is that overall, this is a great way to start 2014. This is a film that embodies the spirits of these characters extremely well. It's funny. It's action-packed to the fucking max with badass shit. And it's made with a mature audience in mind, but it doesn't sacrifice or make compromises. It's just 110% a unique DC experience with this movie. And quite frankly, it kicks the ever-loving crap out of most live-action DC films released in the last couple decades. And this is just an awesome way to start off 2014, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with the Batman, the Son of Batman movie, and the Assault on Arkham movie they're doing. Really looking forward to the Assault on Arkham. And if I was to give this movie anything, it's hell yeah, you should watch this. I mean, shit. It's available on iTunes. I mean, it is expensive. It's $14.99, and if you want to wait for the Blu-ray, I totally understand. But once you find a means of watching this movie, please get it. Buy it even. It's great. It's just awesome. And if you're getting kind of tired of, like the humorless kind of approach that DC is doing now with Man of Steel and moving forward, this is a great alternative where you could really just forget about the live-action DC stuff and focus on these movies. Because unlike the DC stuff where it comes out one movie a year, this is like 3 movies a year, and all 3 of them are very memorable for the most part. So, hell yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you thought of this movie. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Alright guys, see you later.